and peanut. Okay, where's my stand? Let's go. They love the sunshine. See? Let's play. I know. Billy's bored. She used to play with the cats and balls. So we'll play. Let's play, Billy girl. Let's see. What do you want? Shorten the legs. Okay. Shorten the legs. That's Billy. Ah, that's Peanut and Billy. Okay, now where's the bowl? Only one bowl? I like the guts too. So, I have to make it short. Billy? Let's see. She lost. So, there you go. Let's- Where's your stick? Ah, there you go.
Whopper was never a good bag around here. Yeah, that's very big, maybe two.
White Castle. Do you know what time I take the Voltaren, the medicine?
Oh, you can take one. You can take
No, what
shitloads of it.
what time did I take?
Oh, you took it this morning. Take another two.
It's 3 o'clock.
Yeah, take two.
wondering what makes their sliders so special. Well, originally, White Castle sliders were made by grilling small balls of ground beef and then topping them with diced bits of fresh onions. The balls were then smashed flat. Please hold your ball smashing jokes until the end. And then they were flipped over. Finally, the finished slider was placed on a bun with a pickle. But that was then, and this is now. These days, the sliders are cooked by placing 3 dozen frozen beef patties on a griddle covered in water and a pile of rehydrated onions. This is because the sliders are now onion steamed rather than fried. Why? Mostly because the steaming process allows the patties to cook faster. These patties, incidentally, aren't your ordinary beef patties. They have small holes punched into them, which they don't need to be flipped. No flipping in turn means the bun can be placed on the burger while it's still cooking, allowing the onion steam to play with the bun as well as the meat. It was a little innovation suggested in 1954 by Earl Howell, and it's what gives White Castle sliders their totally unique taste. Nice work, Earl. Sliders are not just small hamburgers. Technically speaking, sliders eat while resting in a pile of onions. And if you've ever ordered sliders at a restaurant other than White Castle, or you were a fan of the 1995 sci-fi television show Sliders that starred Jerry O'Connell, then you probably think the word is spelled Sliders. But at White Castle, you would be wrong. In order to make the name trademarkable, the folks at White Castle decided to spell the word with a Y. Yep, it's Slyders. If you didn't know that, don't feel bad. Pretty much no one does. Heck, even the official White Castle website spells the word with Y. One of the most surprising things about White Castle is how popular it is with vegans and vegetarians. One reason why is the Impossible Slider. You see, way back in 2017, White Castle reached out to the good people at Impossible Foods and started developing a plant-based burger that vegans and vegetarians could sub in for the typical beef patty served on a White Castle slider. Impossible Foods, the same outfit just a year earlier, was definitely up to the challenge. After 18 months of development, the Impossible Slider showed up on the menu of 140 White Castle locations in New York, New Jersey, and New York. It was just a test, but it was a massive success, possibly thanks to the launch parties that company threw, which featured celebrities like Questlove and the Wu-Tang Clan. While White Castle doesn't give out exact sales figures, they claim they sold more than twice as many Impossible sliders in the test market than they originally hoped for. Sure or not, the test must have satisfied them because the Impossible slider is now available nationwide. There's also a veggie slider made from soybeans, carrots, and peas, among other things, and it's said to be pretty good. Over the years, most fast food chains have made efforts to expand their menu. For White Castle, this has meant, among other things, a whole lot of new kinds of sliders. For example, there's a fish slider, which replaces the burger with a fish fillet, which includes a fish fillet along with the usual burger, and the chicken ring slider, which replaces the burger with a piece of chicken that's shaped like a ring. But what if it's breakfast time and you want to hit a White Castle? Well, don't worry. White Castle has you covered. For example, take their chicken bacon waffle slider, chicken breast, a waffle, and sometimes gravy. There's also an egg and cheese slider and a sausage egg and cheese waffle slider. White Castle is no stranger to pop culture, or more accurately, many of the stars making music and movies we love are no strangers to White Castle. In the 1992 song White Castle Blues, New Jersey rockers The Smithereens sing the lyrics, Saturday night and it's getting late. I'm getting hungry. I just can't wait. Not just any kind of burger will do. I'm being hit by those White Castle Blues. And the Beastie Boys were just plain obsessed with the place, referencing it in at least 5 separate songs, including Girls, Hold It Now, Hit It, The New Style, Slow and Low, and Slow Ride. Although you should not believe them when they rap that White Castle fries only come in one size. That's not true anymore. White Castle also dissed their way onto screens in 1977's Saturday Night Fever, which features a memorable scene where John Travolta's Tony Manero scarfs down some White Castle burgers with friends at a now no longer operational restaurant in Bayside, Brooklyn.
Hey, don't you never chew, Tony. Don't you never chew. Hey, look, when my mother dies, give it a job, right?
But of course, Interestingly, Harold and Kumar almost didn't go to White Castle. Originally, the movie's creators wanted the pair to go to Krispy Kreme for donuts, but Krispy Kreme people weren't into the idea. The producers next concocted a fictional hot dog stand for the pair to search for, but at the last minute, they reached out to White Castle, who loved the story. White Castle's then director of marketing said there was something authentic in the way the script described how people feel about our distinctive taste and the lengths they'll go to. We're not going to say that Krispy Kreme made the worst marketing decision since M&M's refused to let Steven Spielberg use their product as E.T.'s favorite candy, but it was definitely not a good call.
Hello. Hi there.
Wow, this is one impressive line.
Oh, good.
Been here 3 years now. Trust me, it keeps getting better. What brings you to the wall?
Well, they're satisfied customers. It's such an honor.
No, that's ace. I'm impressed. That's great.
What you getting out of it?
What's wrong with you?
You're not having any fun.
Oh, it stinks. Jesus.
Through winter, your body works harder to stay
Did you not let me fine?
Feel your body and feel. Sleep today.
See if this sounds familiar. In the early 20th century, two business partners decided to open a burger joint that emphasized friendly service and a clean atmosphere, while also selling great food at low prices. It sounds like we're telling you of White Castle again, but this is actually the origin of a different restaurant chain, Krystal Burger. Founded in Chattanooga, Tennessee, about a decade after White Castle rolled onto the scene, at 300 locations, is sometimes considered the South's answer to White Castle, and there definitely are similarities. They both sell miniature burgers that are square in shape, and they both have loyal, almost cult-like followings. But there are differences too. For example, remember when we said sliders aren't just mini hamburgers? Well, whereas White Castle sells sliders, Krystal Burger really does just sell small hamburgers. Finally, let's say you love White Castle, but you don't love going to White Castle. Well, no problem, because White Castle also makes frozen burgers that you can buy at most supermarkets. They're literally made at the exact same factory that makes the burgers they sell in the stores, and they're identical in every way, except they don't come with a pickle, because pickles don't microwave well. They actually spark and sometimes explode. Don't try it, just trust us on this one, kids. White Castle has actually been selling frozen versions of their famous sliders since way back in 1950, and as of 2014, the product accounted for nearly 20% of the company's total revenue. That's a level of sales that makes them the #1 selling brand of frozen burgers in the world. Is anyone else getting hungry all of a sudden? Whether it's McDonald's Big Mac, Burger King's Whopper, or White Castle's sliders, most of us have a favorite fast food hamburger. But possibly because we believe very few of us have taken the time to learn what's in them. Besides all that cheese pickles, so today we're going to take a look at what's really in fast food hamburgers. Okay, time to throw a few patties of weird history on the grill. Even though it would be a while before drive-thrus were a thing, the story of fast food really starts with the automobile. After World War I, cars became more affordable, which made them more popular. And to cater to these increasingly mobile Americans, drive-in restaurants were born. The early wave of drive customers would sit in their car while being waited on by servers called car hops. And the menu at the drive-ins was basically the same burgers, fries, and shakes that fast food joints are now generally associated with. But the food was cooked to order, like at a traditional diner. The first fast food restaurant, as we think of them today, opened its doors in 1921. And it's one you've probably heard of, especially if you're into the Harold and Kumar movies. That's right, it was White Castle. Founded by Billie and Walter Anderson, the very first White Castle was located in Wichita, Kansas, and it sold burgers for a whopping 5 cents each. White Castle was a huge success, and their assembly line style of making burgers fast food industry right up to the present. Even industry leader McDonald's, founded by Richard and Maurice McDonald in 1940, would utilize a similar model, but it would really be thanks to a combination of factors in the post-World War II economic boom of the 1950s that fast food would really blow up. For one, Americans had more money highway, which encouraged Americans to travel. That meant they needed more places to stop and eat, and places with familiar branding menus, like fast food chains, had an edge with travelers in strange territory. McDonald's began to spread across the country like a plague, and dozens of other fast food places did the same in its wake. For better or worse, fast food was on its way to being an American way of life. Today, of course, no one is ever that far from a Mickey D's, or Burger King, or Wendy's. Parties, Carl's Jr., Checkers, Five Guys, In-N-Out, Whataburger, any other of 100 similar chains. Over the decades, these places have collectively served hundreds of billions of hamburgers. And as you might imagine, it has cost a lot of cows their hides.
What is the beef?
Hamburgers are, of course, made of beef. More specifically, ground beef, which is then shaped into patties of various sizes and thicknesses. So, understanding fast food hamburgers means backing up a little to talk about the beef industry. Beef technically comes from a domestic bovine, like steer, bull, ox, or cow. We'll call them all cattle. And raising all that cattle to make all that beef requires a whole industrial process. That process starts with that cattle standing around in fields, eating grass, and watching people drive by while shouting. After a period of pasture foraging, primarily on non-crop lands, of the cattle stock in the U.S., which is around 90 million. A certain percentage is destined for feedlots. Some have to conditioning further with more grass feeding, dehorning, deworming, and vaccination. Feedlots, or feed yards, are typically massive operations where up to 100,000 and fed on high-energy diets of grains, such as corn, oats, barley, sorghum, and hay. This is to get them up to their target weight, faster, on less land, with less labor. Some antibiotics are administered for prevention of disease, some for the cure of infections, and some antibiotics, none related to drugs used by humans, are used to increase yield by promoting certain bacterial colonies in the rumen that allow the cattle to grow less grain. Administration of these drugs is overseen by the FDA, the USDA, and follows the Beef Quality Assurance Program, which documents the best practices for minimal and proper use of antibiotics in the production of beef products. Once a head of cattle reaches target weight, which on average is 1,200 pounds, it is sent to processing facilities to be dispatched, often with a compressed air stunner that drives a steel bolt through the skull. It's that weapon Javier Bardem's character uses in the 2007 movie No Country for Old Men. Hold still. The cattle is then slaughtered, and in the case of ground beef, the meat is fed into giant grinders which can grind over 800,000 pounds of meat a day. In other words, the ground beef in your hamburger isn't from one cow, but maybe from thousands of cows. If what you are eating is marketed as ground beef, that's the end of the process. To be labeled as ground beef, the beef product cannot contain any additives, phosphates, bystanders, water, or organ meat. It's just ground beef. But for hamburger patties, a whole bunch of things might be additives, which may include things like potassium sorbate, hydrogenated cottonseed oil, corn fiber, cornstarch, sugar, and various flavorings and seasonings. Speaking of which, some places like A&W, for example, increasing MSG derivatives in those seasonings, along with flavor enhancers like disodium inosate, disodium guanylate, and silicon dioxide. Silicon dioxide. You may be interested to know that even the toppings on fast food burgers can have additives. For instance, the pickles on burgers contain potassium sorbate, a food preservative. They also have food dyes that may trigger allergies in some individuals. And as we all know, sauces, which often appear on fast food burgers, can hide all sorts. McDonald's Big Mac sauce, for example, contains our preservative panel potassium sorbate. Between the burger, toppings, and sauce, your meal may be sponsored by potassium sorbate. For most of the history of fast food, the meat you would find in most fast food hamburgers was processed meat, meaning the ground beef had been modified to improve its taste and shelf life. So what's so bad about processed meat? Well, for one thing, processed meats have been linked to cancer. In fact, the World Health Organization has, in their own words, confidently concluded that processed meat causes cancer, although they don't say how much you have to eat to be at risk. And if cancer doesn't scare you peroxide, a chemical that kills bacteria. Infamously known as the pink slime, McDonald's stopped using it in 2011, but not so much because they wanted to. Despite all the pink slime, there have always been fast food places that make their burgers with real beef. While McDonald's was writing it out with the pink slime, In-N-Out has been using real beef since 1948, Whataburger since 1950, since 1969. So what finally changed Ronald McDonald's mind? Well, in the early aughts, there was an explosion in the popularity of fast casual style burger places like Shake Shack and Five Guys that all used real beef. Consumers started taking note of things like that, and the competition started to eat into Ronald's bottom line. After McDonald's finally ditched the pink slime in 2011, their burgers have been made from 100% beef ever since. They've also eliminated any preservatives, artificial flavors, and colors. Other franchises that now use 100% real beef include Burger King, Sonic, A&W, and Fatburger. But not everyone has got on board. Jack, for example, still uses processed beef, which is a jack-in-the-box thing to do. Of course, making all that real beef has its own impacts. Large-scale cattle farming contributes to greenhouse gas production. Cattle ranches use a lot of land, some of which involve deforestation in some parts of the world. And the soybeans used in cattle feed is a water-intensive crop causing cows to belch methane. In fact, according to some calculations, as recently as 2019, McDonald's produced over 50 million metric tons of greenhouse gas in its beef production process. In 2014, the Golden Arches vowed to reach net zero carbon by 2050, and by some accounts, it has been a leader in moving towards beef sustainability. And considering McDonald's sells around 2.5 billion burgers a year, addressing the problem is going to take an industry-wide effort. But at least there's no more pink slime in our quarter pounders. Believe it or not, these days, most of your favorite fast food burgers are made from 100% real beef. Unless you happen to be a fan of Jack in the Box, in which case you're already immune to bad news. Today, McDonald's Big Mac is made from real beef, as is Burger King's Whopper, Wendy's Baconator, In-N-Out Double, Shake Shack's Shack Burger, Fatburger's Original Burger, Carl's Jr.'s Famous Star, and Five Guys' creatively named Hamburger. So if eating processed beef is one of your concerns, feel free to get that fast food hamburger and dig right in. McDonald's announced in 2018 that it would start working to reduce the use of antibiotics in its beef, and they have lessened its use, although their beef production process still uses some, as does Wendy's, although neither as much as Burger King, Sonic, Jack in the Box, and Dairy Queen. Animal cruelty concerns are an issue fast food companies face. Factory farming typically entails keeping animals in stifling conditions. In 2012, McDonald's announced they would change some of those practices as they relate to pigs. But according to the Humane Society of the United States, they have Carl Icahn has slammed the company for its treatment of animals and has made efforts to force them to overhaul their practices. The bottom line is that while there's still a lot to improve in the fast food meat pipeline, the burgers you get at a fast food joint these days are, for the most part, 100% real. Just don't mess with the chicken nuggets.
Sonic has been dishing out cherry limeades and cheesy tots for decades now, thanks in part to the chain's unique status as one of the only drive-in diners still in operation. But how does this classic burger joint get its start? And how has it managed to from traditional drive-thrus while staying true to its carve-out roots? Well, today we're pulling up to the history of Sonic. Okay, try not to get any ketchup on the seat. Once upon a time, America was a country powered by optimism, fueled by chrome, and filled with people who believed that the ultimate dining experience involved never actually leaving their cars. A dream as American as apple pie. Or perhaps, more appropriately, a cheeseburger delivered by a roller skating waitress named Linda. The drive-in was not merely a place to get food. It was the shrine to automotive worship, a cultural institution wherein the internal combustion engine could meet the external combustion of patty grilling at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Cars and burgers together at last. The United States is pretty unique in its love of not just automobiles, but car culture. From greasers, modders, and cars on hydraulics, there's always been a deep love for a cool set of wheels. Alongside the rise of car culture and interstate driving, the early 20th century saw the rise of the American diner, a safe harbor for hungry travelers and coffee addicts alike. Diners offered the promise of full meals, such as pancakes, fries, and milkshakes, at odd hours when no reasonable person should be eating. It was an era in which meals were served with a smile and problem. It required people to get out of their cars. And it's tough to show off your car when it's outside of the parking lot. Also, sometimes you just want to eat a cheeseburger in the privacy of your own sedan. This was a problem in desert. That solution arrived in the form of the drive-in. At a drive-in, there was no need to trouble yourself with walking or sitting inside like some sort of cave person. Customers could stay in their vehicles and give their order to a server on roller skates or speaker box, and voila, dinner is served, usually with a little tray that hooks to the door. These drive-ins, resplendent with neon signs and promises of hamburgers the century. It was the golden age of American diner culture. Drive-ins were part theater, part gastronomic experience, and part auto show, a triumphant trinity of Americana combining to make a popular hangout site. For a few glorious decades, it seemed that no one could challenge the dominance of the drive-in. Americans had perfected the art of eating while seated in a motor vehicle, a new player emerged on the scene to further revolutionize this admittedly strange concept: Sonic Drive-In. In 1953, in the windswept town of Shawnee, Oklahoma, a man named Troy Smith had an idea. What if, instead of simply serving ice cream and root beer at a small walk-up root, drive right up and be served by a cheerful car hop? This concept, dubbed Top Hat Drive-In, would evolve into something truly spectacular. And in 1959, it took on the name we all know today, Sonic. The name wasn't chosen randomly. It was meant to invoke a sense of speed. Fast food wasn't fast enough anymore. It had to be supersonic. Smith's vision was simple: create a space where customers could order from the comfort of their cars without the pesky need for indoor dining or walking. The original Sonic locations were like the dining equivalent of a sci-fi movie. There were tables, only cars, car hops, and the distant hum of an intercom. If you wanted a sit-down meal, you were free to sit in your own car and imagine that your Chevy's bench seat was as comfortable as a diner booth, which in some cases might actually be true. Sonic was an ode to simplicity: burgers, fries, old favorite root beer. But over time, this simplicity was subverted. Sonic's menu began to grow, as did its influence. Its early success wasn't just built on burgers and fries, as there were plenty of restaurants who also dealt in that. It was built on novelty. In a world increasingly dominated by fast food chains that relied at least partially on indoor seating, Sonic stood apart as unique experience and an appealing to eat a burger in their car, or while sitting on the hood like the cool in a 1950s drag racing movie. By the time the 1990s rolled around, Sonic was no longer just a regional novelty. The company had gone national, spreading its influence and tater tots across the country. This period of growth, or Sonic boom, if you will, was partly due to the chain's more affordable franchise licenses, but also the low entry construction costs. After all, you mostly just need a parking lot with an enclosed kitchen and enough room for the car hops to roll through. As Sonic locations multiplied like wet gremlins, their menu expanded to match. Part of the charm of Sonic has always been that it doesn't take itself too seriously. After all, a drive-in, while fun, is kind of a strange concept. You're sitting on one set of wheels while a person on a smaller set of wheels brings you food. And eating cheese fries in your car is typically only done in an emergency. Sonic embraces idiosyncrasy, launching a series of commercials in which two men sit in a car, eating Sonic food, and having entertainingly aimless conversations that seemed like someone had accidentally mic'd up a pair of average dudes on a road trip. These ads became iconic, in part because they captured the very essence of Sonic: a place where you sit and hang out while you eat a foot-long chili dog in your car. During this time, the Sonic menu also expanded into a smorgasbord of fast food oddities. Burgers were still there, but also onion rings, mozzarella sticks, and slushes that came in colors not found in nature. There were foot-long hot dogs, breakfast burritos, and something Sonic referred to as toaster sandwiches, which are made with greasy tribute to carb loading. And then there were the fountains. Sonic's ability to mix 1,000 different drink combinations became legendary. You can mix Diet Coke with cherry, vanilla, Nerds candy, or something inexplicable ocean water, which is a flavor that sounds like a mistake, but tastes like vacation. While other fast food chains were offering a limited palette of cola and lemon lime soda, Sonic was offering the entire rainbow, and this make-your-own-drink menu became one of the drive-in chain's most popular selling points. To wit, one of Sonic's most beloved innovations was its happy hour, a time of day where drinks were cheap, the sun was setting, and teenagers across America would line up in their cars garage still roll from car to car, hoping the novelty of mobile delivery and the risk of potential injury will earn larger tips. There was also complaints about the nutritional value of Sonic's products. In the chain's defense, Sonic certainly never claimed to be selling health food. While a lot of Sonic's sustainability revolves around the nostalgia of diners, car culture, and car hops, it also applies to their menu. Many folks enjoy the idea of a diner-esque menu that bears the responsibility of carb counting or deep frying. While famously Subway have argued their intentions are healthy, Sonic is content to know what they are and prevalent. Working relatively unaffected. It's one of the few remaining major drive-in operations, a living tribute to a time when the American dream was best consumed from behind the steering wheel. While many of its competitors found with more efficient service and moved towards more health-conscious menu items, Sonic held fast to its roots. Today's menu features everything from jalapeno poppers to grilled cheese sandwiches, and their signature drink combinations remain as inventive and outrageous as ever. But Sonic is not exclusively a drive-in anymore, with most offering at least a drive-through option for those who do not wish to park their car. Some locations now even have indoor seating, though it's never quite as charming as eating in your car while trying to balance a tray of mozzarella sticks. Still, Sonic remains a bastion of the drive-in experience, offering a slice of nostalgia with every bite. So, as we contemplate the future of drive-ins, we can rest assured that, for now at least, there's one place where you can still sit in your car, sip on a cherry limeade, and crush some tots. That place is Sonic, where fast food meets the open road, and where the spirit of Americana is alive and well, if slightly overcaffeinated and filled with candy.
All right. No.
For
Where's
decades
the
now,
boys?
pretty much every
Oh,
fast food place has
dear.
unveiled a secret sauce that allegedly gives their food a unique zing their
Sorry,
consumers could
guys.
only dream of. And for just as long, people have been trying to figure out what exactly is in
Pretty
it.
girls,
So,
where's the
today,
ball?
we're blowing the lid off the
Are
secret
they?
behind every secret sauce.
Found it.
Whether
Okay.
you're shopping sleek or small, give it a boost. Earn bonus interest with Never Reward Saver. Make one deposit and no withdrawals each month. Never will you start. Search Never Reward Saver.
Let's play. Oh, no, wait. What? There you go. You naughty. There. You wanna play or what? Digger. Handshake. Give me the bowl. Brutus. Good boy. Where's the bowl? Billy, give me the bowl. Where is it? Hello, Mr. P.
Hey, that wasn't a celebration dressing, man. You were signing.
Can you grab me some bowls, please?
What would you like?
Bowls.
Balls?
Yeah.
You'd like some balls? I shall get you some balls.
No, outside, not here.
No, I will. I'm going to get you some balls now. I'll get you some balls. More balls.
Ne, ne.
Gotcha, gotcha.
For me. I'm gonna clean your. There you go. Thank you. Which one you like? You didn't like. you got the whips so cool. Which one you like? Billy got. I got hips. No more. She got all the balls. Mm-hmm.
Alright. How do I do that? On the road. See that?
Billy, which one you like? You like them both? Yeah. This one is no good. I think I need to flip.
25 cents.
Yeah, fucking drink for fucking 50 cents.
That's the way I like the markdown prices to be leveraged, mate, in the supermarkets. Because that's what it should cost. What we're paying for when we buy a cheap buggery, that's what it should cost. In and out.
Ito pala. What are you doing? Brutus.
No longer would Esther need to feed the babies with nappies for Mary. And that opportunity came this morning, laying the groundwork for this huge growth in the 1970s. In 1965, Carol invested in the development of a full-scale drag strip. And in 1971, that investment finally paid off. In-N-Out became central to the racetrack's opening, providing the venue with concessions and convenience stores for family cars. And the association forever tied the brand to hot rods, fast cars, and spilling ketchup all over the upholstery of your fast car. Then in 1972,
Wow, good
Mud Mob,
boy.
Mad Max,
What are those?
Jurassic World, Vince Character's Hunt for Buried Treasure,
Good
for
girl.
palm trees, Harry planted cross palm trees of his own on the front of the Palm Springs In-N-Out location. This practice soon became an In-N-Out tradition, and most locations still have cross palm trees on their property today. It was around this time, too, that the company adopted the classic red aprons, a style choice that's stuck with the brand ever since. The good times were indeed rolling. But sadly, Harry Snyder succumbed to lung cancer in 1976, leaving In-N-Out's 18 locations in the hands of his family. While Esther would go on to work for another 30 years, the family business would be passed down to one of their two sons. The only question was, which one? The oldest son, Guy, was by all accounts a wild man. Nothing wild and pretty got, if you will. Inspired by his own father's love of hot rods, he raced cars, motorcycles, and party hard. While his younger brother Rich was
Good
just 20
girl.
years old, Guy seemed much less
Good
capable of
girl.
look. And since Rich had taken
Good
over his mother's
girl.
job with Houston a teenager, he was already well acquainted with the
Good
ins and outs of the
girl.
car. So the decision was made to give him the presidency over his older brother, with Guy serving as vice president. Rich made his mark on the company right away. In 1979, In-N-Out opened their 21st restaurant,
Good
the first ever
girl.
In-N-Out location with a sit-down dining area. This new model was so successful that they would open only 13 more In-N-Out stands before phasing it out entirely. It was around this time that Rich began discreetly printing Bible verses on In-N-Out packaging. To this
Good
day, customers can
girl.
still find John 3:16 tucked away on the soda cups, Revelation 3:20 on their single serve wraps, Proverbs 3:5 on their milkshakes, and Matthew 1:7 on their double wrappers. You can pick up them all for a prize. The prize? Salvation. In 1984, Rich would then open the In-N-Out University, a manager training facility built right outside his childhood home. That same
Good
year,
girl.
father also started the In-N-Out
Good
Trust Fund,
girl.
aka the In-N-Out Burger Foundation, which to this
Good
day
girl.
raises millions of dollars every year to feed
Good
underprivileged
girl.
children.
Good girl.
By the end of the 80s, In-N-Out had
Very good, Billy girl.
comparison in
Well
McDonald's
done.
and 2000.
Good catch.
Well, even the burger
Good
standard
catch.
cook wasn't exactly conquering the
Good
world
catch.
yet. Still, the
Miss.
Snyder family kept the growth coming. In 1992, they opened In-N-Out's first ever
Good
non-California
catch.
location, their 80th
Good
restaurant,
catch.
located in Las Vegas, Nevada. Their slow expansion
Good
was seen as
catch.
unstoppable as an approaching lava flow.
Very
Their growth with the
good.
rest of the nation,
Good
inevitable.
done,
But in
Billy girl.
1993, tragedy
Good
struck.
job.
Rich, Snyder, and four of the passengers were flying into John F. Airport when, while
Very
closely
good
packed
girl.
Boeing 737
Brutus,
abruptly
you're
drifted
just
into our
watching.
aircraft and crashed.
Eh,
The accident left no survivors. In the
you're
event
just
that the
watching, Brutus.
FAA policy regarding how far smaller craft need be from our
Well, how
runways
good is
may
Billy
evolve.
girl?
In his brother's absence, Guy
Oh,
was finally made to step up to
well
the helm of the
done.
company. He oversaw the opening of In-N-Out's 100th location, and he was
Ouch,
celebrating
miss.
his 50th anniversary. But in 1999, Guy succumbed to an accidental overdose, leaving his mother Esther childless, husbandless, and scarred for the family business. Despite being suddenly left alone to run In-N-Out, she successfully grew the company to 200 locations by 2005 and passed away just 1 year later. While Mark Taylor, an hourly associate,
Miss.
worked his way up through the company into Esther's vice president. Mark ran the company for the few years that followed, and the company was eventually passed down to Guy's daughter, Harry and Esther's only grandchild, Lindsay Snyder, making her the head
Miss.
of her very own burger empire at the age of 28, which is weird
Good
if you
girl. Very good, Billy girl. Billy girl. How about Bobo? How about Bobo? Naughty. Oh, naughty boy. Alrighty. Tomorrow again, guys. Cause alright, tomorrow again, guys. Here again. Love you all. Cheers.